Have you heard about the term authentic leadership? This term gets thrown around quite a lot. But what does it really look like? This conversation with Deepak is a must join, not just because Deepak Subramanian is a global business leader, but because this is what a masterclass in human authentic leadership looks like. Deepak Subramanian is a VP at Unilever, handling various global and regional categories. He's also a startup mentor, investor, on the board of many global companies, and just overall a brilliant human being. In this conversation, we cover his trials in professional and personal life, his journey of finding meaning and purpose and arriving at that sweet spot of where you feel you're thriving, how he realized that he was not being present, how coaching helped him, how has he evaluated trade-offs which one needs to make in their overall career and life, and why it is so important for leaders to show up authentically as Deepak does. If you are a working professional, especially in a large corporation, please take some time to see this episode, reflect on it, and let us know in comments what you feel and think about this. I can guarantee you, you would not have come across a business leader talking so authentically about things which really matter. Exactly what we like to talk about at I Feel Fine. Hope you enjoyed as much as we did. Deepak Subramanian on I Feel Fine.
Thrive is, I guess, that sweet. I have this concept of a sweet spot where you're doing whatever you do in, as you say, in the variety of roles, you're able to link it back to your purpose in a way. So it's basically saying that why do you exist and what gives you joy and what gives you motivation, and you're able to see a linkage between the actions that you're taking in the different roles that you fulfill, and that purpose. I think that is at least the way I articulate it for myself as you're thriving. Otherwise, then if outside that sweet spot, you're either doing stuff where you don't find meaning, or you're constantly searching for things that will give you the meaning, and it's not linked together. And then those are the moments or the state, either in the day or in your life or life stages, where you're a bit lost.
And can you refer to a time where you felt you were thriving or are
Totally.
thriving?
No, totally. I would actually say somewhat now. I would say in these last few years, and there I then get into my own story of why I feel so. And it's a sort of confluence of probably three things that came together. One was my own ability to shift my mental model away from the South Asian Indian model of success. So I carried with me, let's say, from the time I started working all the way, I would say, till the first time I came into came to write down what my purpose was, and came down to a moment in my life where I don't think I was thriving, and I went. So maybe I tell you that story, and then you will see how it plays out. But the three things that come together, and I go into each one of them, is the situation at home, the the impact of knowing my purpose and having gone through a coaching moment where I kind of was able to step back and look at it dispassionately. And the third one was this an experience a couple of experiences when I went through in 16 and 18, which made me realize that that I need to build brand Deepak versus only being seen as uh, the VP of Unilever. And these three all come together to get me to a place where I'm a little bit more at ease and a little bit more less stressed about about who I am, and what my achievements are, and whether I'm living my purpose fully. And and therefore I would say in the last few years, with these three things coming together, and I'll explain the home situation also in a minute, there's a heightened level of consciousness and at ease. It's not that the business context is any easier or anything else, but and it's not, thrive is not the pizza party definition for me. It's about the feeling that it's a feeling. I think I don't know how to explain it, but is the feeling of that you are having impact, and that come what may, you will be able to navigate and manage all the uncertainties. It's that ability to deal with uncertainty is what I call. So what are the three things? I would say, from, let's say, key milestones in my life: started working in 1995, met my wife in 2001, got married in 2002, first kid in 2004, second kid in 2007, first expatriation 2009. So all that phase was in a more of a classic mold: nose to the ground, working it, putting the hours, career over everything else. And then 2012, I became a VP, and in 2012, in my first 6 months as a VP, very keen to have impact, new role, business was in real deep shit. And at the end of 6 months, I had this moment to do a 360 with my team, and an open 360. So it was a face-to-face 360. And I went in thinking that I'm really going to get good feedback around the impact I'm having and how I'm helping to navigate through what were really difficult times. Absolutely unprepared for what I heard, where everybody felt that I was completely not empowering, creating a lot of energy, a lot of stress, and a lot of anxiety in the business. And I'll never forget that night where I just couldn't sleep in this away day that we were doing in Warsaw, and was really thinking, saying, what the fuck is happening, and why is this happened like this? One thing led to another, and that was also the time that Unilever had started this whole thing around purpose. So I know January 2013, 6 months after I got promoted, I had a chance to go through that whole purpose workshop with Nick Craig and everybody else. It was fantastic. And in the session, I had a coach for that, just for that particular. And she asked me one day, she asked me a question saying, Deepak, why are you trying, why do you come across as somebody who's trying so hard? And I was basically saying, listen, in my own self opinion, if I look at the last 7 years, I had just come out of a pretty tough stint in India where I nearly left the company, had not really delivered what I needed to. And in a way, there were a lot of people who still trusted me, and therefore they bailed me out. So my move to Europe was more a bailout, or after having had a pretty unsuccessful run for about 4 to 5 years in a particular role. So I was still carrying the scars of that, and then I walked straight into Eastern Europe, where the business had just started its tank down. And then I went through another 2 years of just operating in a completely shitty environment. So 6, 7 years of, in a way, true underperformance.
Wow.
And then I walk into my first role as a VP, and again dealing with underperformance. So I came into this with this thing around. So I think she, obviously, good coach, she spotted it in a second. Or didn't have to be a good coach to spot it in a second. And she said, listen, that's the first time she seeded this thought around, but why do you judge yourself by your rating and by your performance? You're also a good father. You're also a good son. You're also a good brother, good wife, and you have other roles to play. And it was never in my radar till that moment. So I think that's the first moment. I then went through this 5, 6 months of a coaching opportunity with which Harm organized. So Harm was my boss at that time, and the guy whom I worked with, we ended up staying connected even now. And every time I shift jobs, he then runs a couple of interventions for me to bring his theories in. So this guy's name is Ari Power, Dutch guy. And by the way, great guy for you to speak to also, by the way. So, if you want, I can introduce you to him. And that's when I realized that a lot of my conditioning as a child, which you'll recognize with, India, competitiveness, marks, anxiety at home, you are judged through your performance and through your marks. And that was who I was. And I was therefore that, along with the fact that I had become a work level 4, and I was behaving like a big work level 3, but I had not shifted into the mind space of, what is a work level 4 supposed to do. So that was my unlearning, relearning moment. So that was one theme. Second theme is more on the personal front. Over the last 4 to 5 years, I have to say that I have been at the receiving end of a lot of sharp feedback from my wife. And, I think she also gets to the stage where she feels that my I'm not always present at home, and that I have always, prioritized my work over family and kids. And maybe in the beginning she accepted it and did it, but she also gets to a stage in her life where she probably says, what the fuck is happening? So there have been, I would say, conscious moments where, or difficult moments where I've had to get some pretty tough feedback and confront some of my own mental models around what is my role, how am I supposed to play it, and am I playing it enough? And I would say that one I've become more conscious about. If she was in the room, she's not, but if she was in the room, she probably would tell you that I still have not got there as yet, because it also happens
Journey.
now. But I have to say I'm super conscious about it, and there are many things, at least from my perspective. Maybe my wife is not fully satisfied with how well I do that, but within the limits of what I'm able to do, I think some very, very conscious calls in terms of working hours, keeping breaks, weekends, how I approach meetings. I have made, I think, a fair amount of change. So that's the second theme, which is continuously going. Third one was as I went through 16. So I came to Singapore in 2015. Within 6 months, I got the first call saying that my job is going, and that because household cleaners and laundry were getting merged, and that they said, no, we like you, we trust you, so we'll find another job. But I was at a bit of a crossroads, and then 2 months after that, whilst they were still searching for me, C4G happened, and then everything was up in the air. And then I had to go through the process of, in a way, interviewing for the CCVP role with 3 other people, knowing fully well that only one of us was going to get it. So my first brush with, in a way, existential yeah. And I was lucky that I made it. That was one. Then 2018, when Case came in, Case knows me very well. So, I didn't have a lack of knowledge point of view, but in his first week in the job, Case said, listen, Deepak, I know you, I think you're a good guy, but I want a Southeast Asian doing the job, and therefore we'll figure out something else for you. But, and I went to another 6 months till he came back to me and said, you know what, I think you're the best person for the job, but can you double hat? And that's when the whole Philippine saga started. But I went through these moments in 2016 and 18 where, there was also a period where, I was saying that maybe this is the end of the road, because they could have very well ended saying, Deepak, thank you, but we don't have another role for you. Here's a package, thank you, and move forward. As I went through these, I realized that, listen, my whole sense of identity is linked to being a VP in Unilever. And if ever that were come to stop, then my biggest fear would get man. What is my biggest fear is not so much job security. My biggest fear is lack of relevance and not being able to contribute. And therefore, this side gigs that I start to have in my life, which started off more from I want to learn and understand how it is playing outside. And it's sort of snowballed into little by little, because I also like it, but also wise people, advise me along the way, saying that you've got to have your own sense of identity, and people need to know you as Deepak first, and then as a VP Unilever. That I start to do all of this. Now, why do all three come? When you put all three together, these don't operate independently. When you link it all together, I think that the thing about knowing who I am, knowing that I am building myself for an eventual, because the call will come. The call will come to that my time is up, if not today, tomorrow, or day after. That's part of the terrain. So rather than fight it, rather embrace it and say that, listen, that I'm preparing myself for that eventual disengagement will happen, and with a little bit more of consciousness on the other roles that I play. These three all there. It's very heavy on my mind, I have to say. So. And therefore, if I look at the way I deal with stress now, or the deal with the way I deal with demands, the way I've dealt with COVID, the way I've dealt with Indonesia underperforming, and I think my bosses also tell me that if I looked at how I dealt with these situations 4-5 years ago versus how I deal with it today, I think there's a level of more calm and coming to grips with the situation, rather than, and therefore being in the thriving zone, saying, listen, I'm going to give it my best. And as I'm doing all of this, the meaning in the suffering, as they say, is that I'm able to live my purpose of impacting so many different people. And if it doesn't happen in Unilever, I will also be able to do it outside. I start to build that pathway that gives a level of calmness and helps me to also then do the right thing and do the right thing, or do things right in that sense. So, and therefore that makes me feel good. So long response to your question, but I tell you a little bit about the why I feel that maybe I'm in a better place now than I've ever been in the past.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. I think it's interesting when you explain this whole concept, because then you're almost saying that it doesn't mean that there is no problem.
I love a lot of problems.
Mean that thriving is like happiness all around.
No, Thriving is finding a way to deal with the problems with and not letting the but that doesn't mean there are no problems, or it doesn't mean there's no stress.
Yeah, it's more like the inner confidence and
Exactly.
peace to be able to. That's what thriving means for you.
Totally right.
When you said that 7 years nose to the ground, you were working career before everything else. When you think back on that time, how does it feel?
Yeah, I think I feel that maybe I missed an opportunity to. So it's a feeling of regret, I have to say, which is not a good place to be. As somebody once said, it's better to lead a life of failure than a life of regret. So that is for me a sense of regret that I probably missed out on some aspects of my life beyond work. Being there for with my parents, with my sisters, with my friends, with my wife, and with my kids when they were younger. Maybe I could have done it differently. So there is that feeling of regret that that time has gone, and I could have done so much more with it.
Why is it important for you to have done more with that?
Because it's exactly the same point that the lady told me, who asked me that question, said because I am aware that I play many roles, and that I haven't fulfilled all these roles to the best that I could have in the past. Probably it was imbalanced, in the sense that I could have fulfilled fulfilled some of the other roles better, and that's the balance point in my mind. Since you started with the thought of balance, that I can't only be a good father, can't only be, there is these multiple roles, and you have to it's like a clutch and accelerator. You have to be.
It's not like balance is equal, but
No.
it's
And when I look back, I think that it was imbalanced to the extent that one of the roles was being fulfilled far more than the rest, and I can't make up for that now. But that's looking back. But looking forward, or looking now and looking forward with that knowledge and consciousness, there is still I can still do things.
And if you were to talk to somebody who's 10 years behind you in terms of the life stage, would you tell them to do things differently? I'm guessing.
Yes, I would. The main thing is that consciousness. I think I wish I had that consciousness, which for me came out of the confluence of these 3 life events. If there was a way for all of us to go through that, as you go from the 20s to the 30s, and you say it's a part of growing up, in the sense that you say that when you reach when you're 30, you have to go for this mandatory moment where you if there was ever such a thing, that would be so nice, actually. Because then you don't then it's part of it's
mandatory crisis.
Yeah, exactly. You don't chance upon it, because there could have also been, and I see that a lot around me, that there are also cases where you don't have the opportunity to come to terms with that, and therefore you just keep on perpetuating this, and the sooner you can have that in the life in your life journey, the better, in my opinion. So I would like to at least share this, and I share it quite I share all of this quite openly with my team, at least, as people that I interact with daily. I think also in a bit, partly to let them know that the boss is also has his own problems and is human, but there's also part of giving, moving it, paying it forward. Yeah.
Do you feel if you'd not, so again, there was you are doing extremely well in terms of, in Unilever, in terms of your growth and, all of those things. Do you feel that if those 7-8 years you would not have done what you did, it could have costed a little bit of this success?
Not really. In fact, for me, it's the other way around. And I think Harm was the one who put that thought into my head for the first time, saying that your success as a leader has more, as you grow in the organization, has more to do with how well you manage your different roles, and not necessarily how well you manage only one role. So, small example, but a really important example. I'll never forget that day when Harm came to the office. It was also a day where he was having a performance review with Jan Zeiderwald. And
Performance review of some business.
Harm was a general manager of Eastern Europe. I was his VP. That same day, there was a particular day where he was also having a business review with his boss, his monthly performance review.
Okay. Yes.
And he came to me around 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Sorry, he came to me around 3 o'clock in the afternoon saying that, a lot of people are looking at me very strangely today. Can you figure out, he and me are very close. And he said, what's happening? So I went and figured out, and basically I found out that everybody was, because we used to sit in an open office and everybody could see everybody, that everybody felt that Harm was looking unusually stressed that day. And people were worried that because numbers are not coming very good, that he's going to have a tough conversation with Jan Zaideveld, and Jan Zaideveld may actually fire him. Was the buzz on the floor. And I said, listen, this is what people are saying. And he says, Deepak, welcome to the world of having to lead an integrated life, as you used to call it. He said, I had real stress with my son this morning, who doesn't want to go to school because he had just moved from Warsaw, and the son was throwing tantrums. He said, I've really had a really difficult morning trying to get him to school. And I wear it on my shoulders and I bring it in, and half the office is thinking that I am worried about my job and that I'm going to be fired today. That was such a telling thing.
Yeah.
Such a telling thing that you can't. There is this integrated thought, and maybe I could have actually done better if I had been a little bit more balanced. I definitely feel that for myself now. So I could have probably been, because this diversity of thought, engaging with others, this ability to step out and then step back in. When I look back at the 5 or 6 years when I was a brand director responsible for a launch which took 5 years, I thought it'll take 2 years. It took 5 years to get to market, and after that it failed in 6 months. And that was, when I look back, and it took me 3 years to come to terms with it and to dissociate myself from it. So that was like a 8-year journey. It was real pain, and Harm helped me a lot on that. But when I look back now at that journey and say that where did it go wrong, it was simply because I was just so deep in it that I missed the helicopter view. I missed the ability to step back and take the helicopter view. Today, my job allows me to do more of that because my scope has widened, so I can be a little bit more dispassionate. But when I look back, I was saying that if I hadn't been so deep into it and so blind to it, maybe I could have actually pulled off something, which was the dream at that time. So it's a funny thing, but I think that's my learning, which is that, and I was telling Pierre Louis just once that the key thing is to build a sense of detachment. When you get too attached or too close, then I think it becomes very, very hard.
Like if you feel like you could have, if you'd had a little bit more balanced approach, not
Yes.
just, in every way,
Yeah.
it probably would have made your mind a little calmer or whatever, better
Totally.
decision.
And a better decision making. Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
better decision.
Exactly right.
And that's one thing we want to talk about, just digressing, that well-being is a way to perform better.
Totally
It's
right.
not performance and well-being, it's together.
I am fully with you on that, and that's why personally I also don't like this work-life balance thought at all.
Yeah.
It's a different. It's either life balance, and work is one part of life. It's exactly right. It's not that but so it's exactly the same point. And I think that the wisdom is in the wisdom, or the acquired wisdom is in the point that you said, that well-being can actually help you thrive better.
Yeah. How did you, and I'm just maybe one last bit and we'll do a checkout. But how did you, when you said that, okay, I want to do this, and I want to have a balanced life as a father, did you do something specifically for you to help arrive at how you want to build brand Deepak, or what areas of your life you want to sort of focus on?
It's been a bit organic, so I haven't really, I can retrofit a logic, but it's a bit touchy and feely in that sense that you feel. But I think one thing was very, very clear, which was, as I have written my purpose in 2013 and had a chance to reflect on it, rewrite it, sharpen it, and it's almost been 8 years since I had a chance to articulate it. The core thought behind that has not changed. So it was, I think, I think I had this moment. How old was I? I was 39 when I had a first chance to take a step back on my life and and look at the collective set of experiences till that moment to define in a way who I am and what gets me going. And when I look back now, 8 years after that, it has only got more solidified that that is the core thought. And that, in a way, that was the calling that actually helped me to start to build this external orientation first. So, there's the main thing was, I just enjoyed meeting a couple of founders and starting to understand their problems. And it just snowballed after that,
Yeah.
that,
Okay.
one thing led to,
So
but that was
it's
the trigger point. That was a
the
trigger
trigger
point.
was that you need something more.
I needed something more, and I was just generally very happy
Hmm.
to live my purpose. I felt I was living my purpose. Started off actually getting onto the board of Enactus. You know Enactus, right? The student body who basically works with students in universities and starts to prepare them for entrepreneurs. So I went through a year where it was called some responsible mentor or something, where I was just mentoring these two kids, and then one thing led to the other. I enjoyed that. I was able to stay the course, find the time in the diary to have the monthly catch-ups, and then
Was
one
it?
thing led to another. And then suddenly I realized that this is really good. I enjoy it. I'm getting a lot out of it. And as I keep saying, I was also pleasantly surprised by how much pull there is for what I'm also bringing from, because I always went in thinking
Yeah.
26 years legacy company, what the fuck do I have to give? But there is a lot, I have to say. And then one thing led to another, and I also then started to push a bit
Yeah.
in terms of saying, okay, I need to get more conscious about it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a snowball. I can't
It
give
was a
you
little bit
a
of following your curiosity and following your
exactly.
edge. You
That
know,
is it. That
what
is it.
gives you energy, and then you followed it.
That
And
is it. That
yeah,
is it. That
which
is
is
totally
best.
it.
Yeah,
That
which
is
is
totally it. And I'm still in the process. I haven't.
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
the one thing that I am now clear about, and again, as I've done, spoken to a few people,
Hmm.
gone through, I went through. I became a certified chair to basically become, to be able to run advisory
Yes.
boards. So I've been through, went through a week of a certification. I am part of a peer-to-peer board member network called Critical Eye, and so and a couple of
Yeah,
things start to, and
yeah.
then one thing that I do have clarity on through all of this is that when my time is up with Unilever, unless there's a really nice impactful, let's say, next corporate role, I probably will shift into what is now popularly
So,
called a portfolio career, where
hmm.
you basically, I will do three, four, five things, small things, but they all add up to hopefully a rich life in terms of having rich experiences and having to have the fulfillment. That's
Yeah,
how I see it at the moment.
yeah.
And this last 2 to 3, 4 years has helped me, a lot. I have to say there, then the work also helps because our
Feeds to each other.
clean future has opened up a lot of doors. So the fact that I'm in the neck deep in the center of running clean future, and it's such a mega thing in the outside world, the pull is also there.
Yeah.
So
But
two
it's
weeks
also, I
ago.
feel, the other way around. To stay relevant in Unilever and for Unilever, we are not really ahead of the curve in many things, in
Totally.
terms of digital. So I think it also feeds the other
And
way.
that is a second one, which is, so all things sustainability and all things
Yeah.
digital and e-commerce is what I think is desperately required in the company.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
also what people outside are looking for, and I start
Yes.
to see that that is in a way a sweet
Yes.
spot where I can start to build myself, build the company, and,
Yeah.
and also have that continued relevance if my time in Unilever is up. So
Yeah.
so that is the
That's
way
what
it.
makes it unique, right? Like
Yeah.
in the setup. That's superb. That's awesome, Deepak. And I
Yeah,
don't, we don't have,
a lot of this is circumstantial, as I keep saying. When you ask me, saying, how are you, which is the moment that you're trying, and I was just, whilst I was responding to you, that probably now,
now.
the life is just so uncertain. My wife is just messaging me that another of her aunts is sinking. So it's so crazy, and health can just, your health status can
Yeah.
just totally change your levels of thriving. So,
Excellent.
but in that context, small things, but I think they're super important.
Yes.
Things like, are you covered for health insurance? So I don't know whether you're covered for health insurance, but the company covers me. But 2 weeks ago, I decided to take a
Yeah.
second cover. The reason being, I wanted to lock my current health status, because I know that as I grow older,
Yeah.
if something comes up and then I leave
Yeah.
Unilever and I don't have a cover, then I
Uh,
will not be covered. So small things like that, to just sort of be prepared for
yeah.
eventuality.
We don't
I
think
think
about it. We don't want to think about it, but we have to.
you have to. So I'm paying a bit more. It's a bit of a wasted money in that sense. But I know that the payback for that will be that in 5-6 years,
Yeah.
as I'm above 50 and as I get to a stage where maybe the cord cutting will happen. It's not that my health is going to
You
be.
sound like some doomsday. No, it's not going to
No,
happen.
no.
That's you're like,
it's about
I feel
that balanced view.
I feel you're trying too hard to prepare for that. Like
Maybe
the
too
coach
much.
said.
Maybe
Yeah.
too much. So that's the
But
way it
no,
is.
really, really happy to hear from you. And, thanks so much. It's been so energizing to talk to you.
Nice. Thank you for reaching out. It's also good to, as I share these, it also helps to sharpen my own narrative. So it
Yes.
helps.
I have like, I know we have no time, but I just have like one or two quick things, which
Bolo.
I more like a quick fire thing. Just
Sure,
for,
sure.
is there an investment which you have made, which is less than $100, which has helped you live a more balanced life? It could be your physical health, mental health. It could be like literally anything, but like something costing less than $100.
Um, yeah, I would say quite a few. So I would say,
Yes.
exercise equipment. I would say at home. Just
An
just a two sets of dumbbells can really make you sweat out of the yoga mat. That is like
Okay.
it's
So
an
yoga
important part
mat
for me. I mean,
and
it's an important part for me to lead a balanced life. Is as you say, is the physical well-being. I think is really
yes.
important.
Okay.
So
And the last one is when you feel overwhelmed,
yeah,
what do you do? What's your like go-to hack?
yeah, I have to sweat it out. So either running, so I sweat it out, or I Netflix it out. So those are the two.
Cool. Thank you so much. On that
Thank
note,
you.
I will keep you posted and I will
Do
be in
that. I'm
touch.
very curious to see what comes out of
Yes.
this. But
Yes.
all the best, and
Thank you.
I think I think I know what your purpose is. So I think that's also good by seeing how you react and how you spend time and what gives you energy. So I think you're also in a very special place. So good for you.
Thank you so much, Deepak. Bye.